We are here. I'm in Rome, and I'm going to be talking with a colleague of mine who's in another part of the Mediterranean world, Dr. Andrew Henry, and he has Religion for Breakfast. So if you don't know Religion for Breakfast, you should. He is a great source on the social media channels and YouTube, and a real accessible scholar who's able to share the intricacies of ancient religions. And in particular, that brings us to what we're talking about today. We're promoting and sharing our wonderful program that's going to be in Rome in November. So how about Andrew, give us a couple of words about yourself, your background, so people get familiar with you if they don't know you from our audience?
Sure, yeah. My name is Andrew Henry. I'm the YouTuber over at Religion for Breakfast. The channel is dedicated to religious studies in general, so you'll find videos on Buddhism and Hinduism and Christianity and Islam. But my own subfield, what I got my PhD in, is early Christianity, the religions of the late Roman and Mediterranean world. I study early Christian demonology and magic. So, what the 99% of people were doing to try not to, get try to survive sickness or theft, wearing amulets and cursing their neighbors with curse tablets. But I also study the Christianization of the Roman Empire, like how the Roman Empire morphed into this Christian empire. So this program that we're doing in Rome will be focusing on some of these major ancient Christian sites in Rome, uh, and we'll be looking at some of these sites in a new light. So, like the Pantheon, for example, so many people think of it as a Roman temple, but it's a church now, and it was converted into this church. And so, we'll be focusing on how some of these sites were converted into this new ritual use with this new religion on the block called Christianity.
Yeah, so for us, we're here in Rome. We're based in Rome. We're a U.S. nonprofit. We've been around for 20 years. I've been living in Rome personally for about 26 years. And, 9 times out of 10 on any given day, we're looking at something from the time of the Republic, the time of the kings, the time of the emperors. But with Andrew, we're able to do deep dives for 5 days in this program in November. All the content is on ancientromelive.org/courses. You get all the details, the costs, and so forth, the itinerary, and we'll be able to kind of go behind the scenes physically on site, but also with Andrew, who's going to be bringing a world of insights into the conversations of understanding that pivot point from worshiping, being immersed in the world of the old gods, and now pivoting to a new reality in Christianity. It's one of the most fascinating periods, I think, in all of Roman history.
Yeah. And then I can imagine us. So one of the sites we're visiting, for example, is the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, and there are these mosaics in this basilica that date to the 400s. And these are fifth century mosaics when this was a time when Christian art was not yet solidified. I think a lot of us in the audience, we have an idea of like, oh, what a painting of Jesus should look like, long hair, a beard. But imagine Christian art that has not yet solidified what Jesus should look like. So
Hmm.
you have these
Hmm.
mosaics with a beardless Jesus, uh, biblical stories being portrayed in an art style we might not be familiar with because they're just so dang early. So at some of these sites, we'll be there looking at these mosaics, analyzing the artwork uh, from this perspective of Christianity just being relatively new.
Yeah, yeah, because it's Rome, and because Rome is a city of layers of history, we'll be going underground as well. So there are a lot of
Mm.
places in which we can literally see history and period upon period, not just in San Clemente. There are many other sites that we'll take a look at that will give us these insights into transformation of the city.
Yeah. So under San Clemente, there's the Mithraeum, which is this ritual site for the religion of Mithraism. What's sometimes called a mystery cult, the people that honored and venerated the god Mithras, and it's sometimes compared to Christianity as this small uh, new movement that gathered in these smaller ritual places. So Christians would gather in house churches, for example, and
Hmm.
Mithraists would gather in Mithraea, and we'll visit this site and again analyze it. So one of my own field of research is ritual theory and ritual studies. Like, how do people use a ritual building like a Mithraeum? And we'll analyze what it would be like to be honoring Mithras while being, there at the in the actual site itself.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, it's going to be an opportunity. It's a sociological study. I mean, we want to look at real people, real lives, real physical spaces. So we're kind of, taking the conversation away for once from the emperors and the palace on the on the Palatine Hill and so forth, and taking it down into the trenches. Obviously, there's going to be a whole stratified society we'll look at. We'll look at its senatorial class as well, but really, it's going to be about what's that average person in the street, how are they able to deal, how are they able to reconcile their realities as Christians, new Christians, adhering to this new religion within the context of the rest of the city, which was still immersed in the reality of venerating the traditional deities.
Yeah, I mean, a fun question I like to ask is like, what did it mean to be Christian in fourth century Rome? You still might be going to the Temple of Apollo one week, and then you go to the Basilica on Sunday. Like, it's this fluid religious affiliation that we're not used to today in the 21st century. If you say, "Oh, I'm a Christian today," that means a certain thing here in the 21st century
Hmm.
of like exclusive worship of the Christian God. But it was the Wild West, back in antiquity. The late Roman period was this period of transformation, and you would have a Christian who would call themselves a Christian, would go to the Basilica on Sunday and take the Eucharist, and then go strap an amulet of like a Gnostic god around their shoulder, their neck, to protect themselves from a spirit that might not even be in the Christian pantheon. Like, protect themselves. And some of these amulets we find in Egypt, for example, have like an
Hmm.
Egyptian god on them, though it's technically a Christian amulet. So the fluidity you see in Christianity in this era is something that's really fascinating to dive into.
And also, these are the guys that are still going to go to the games. Like, hey, it's in the
Yeah.
calendar, and we know that these games lasted a very long time, well beyond the fact, well beyond the point in which Christianity is legalized. It has to come all the way to that extreme of the 380 or whatnot with Theodosius, where you actually make the veneration of all those previous gods illegal. So it's very interesting to see that kind of overlap in that time period. That's where we're going to concentrate a lot of our efforts, and then we'll take it forward into the fifth century and the sixth century, and we'll see how the city is still thriving, but then pivoting to new realities, of course, amidst various, quote unquote, barbarian incursions, and what Justinian does with it, and so on. So I think it's a great dynamic period that people are not familiar enough with, and that's the kind of context in which we're going to be taking a look at early Christianity with Andrew. So Andrew's coming over, and I think it's just going to be a great conversation. Again, the format is we spend our mornings from 9 to 1 or so on various site locations, and then we all go and have a lunch. That's part of the program as well. So it's local, it's authentic, and the conversation continues with the meal. We're happy to help you for the rest of your time in Rome. We're happy to make indications. We can do things informally in the afternoon, but the idea is to concentrate together for about half a day each day for 5 days.
Yeah, and a lot of opportunities for informal conversations too. The hope is that this will be a learning experience, not just as like a lecture in a basilica, but also informal chats over lunch over what we just saw and what we'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, and you go to our site ancientromelive.org/courses. You can look at some of the feedback we've gotten from people from recent courses that we've run in Vesuvian cities and in Rome. So a lot of good comments and feedback from people that participated. They're having a phenomenal time. Again, we've been doing this educational programming for over 20 years, and I've been here for 26 years. So you're going to have a good organization that's going to be of support while you're here. And then we're having a special guest lecturer all the way through with us, Andrew. So, again, get familiar. And if you want to set up a time to speak with us, you can reserve a time and we'll do a one on one conversation with you if you have any questions. Otherwise, please get familiar with Andrew's phenomenal work on religion for breakfast, and you will be enlightened well beyond the ancient Roman world on ancient religions. And then we'll see you all in Rome in November. Andrew, anything else?
That's everything. Thanks for having me on, Darius.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for doing this live with us. And then we'll see you guys all in November and reach out to us for further questions.
All right,
Thanks for
thanks.
joining. All right. Take care.